so many questions. Why is the world spinning? Why is the moon keeping its orbit? Can rockets fly backwards? The facts you didn't know you needed. The Useless Show.
The Pan American Highway is a connected network of roads stretching from Alaska in North America to the southern tip of South America. It spans roughly 19,000 miles, passing through more than a dozen countries and multiple climates. One notable break is the Darien Gap between Panama and Colombia, where dense rainforest prevents a continuous roadway. The Borneo cat, also known as the bay cat, is one of the rarest wild cats in the world. Native only to the island of Borneo, it lives in dense rainforests and is rarely seen by humans. Camera traps capture very few images each year, making population estimates difficult. Habitat loss and limited range contribute heavily to its extreme rarity. Tornado rotation is influenced by Earth's rotation, which differs by hemisphere. In the northern hemisphere, most tornadoes rotate counterclockwise, while in the southern hemisphere, they tend to rotate clockwise. This pattern is linked to the Coriolis effect, which subtly influences large-scale atmospheric motion, though local wind conditions ultimately determine tornado formation and strength. Certain dark, glossy coatings on desert rocks, called desert varnish, form partly through biological activity. Manganese-oxidizing microbes contribute to these black layers over thousands of years. This means the varnish acts as a slow-growing biological archive, preserving environmental information rather than being only a chemical stain created by weather exposure. Vanilla comes from an orchid, making it one of the few edible orchid-derived products. The vanilla plant produces long seed pods that must be hand-pollinated in most growing regions. After harvesting, the pods undergo months of curing to develop flavor, which explains why natural vanilla is labor-intensive and more expensive than synthetic alternatives. The stonefish is considered the most venomous fish in the world. Its dorsal spines inject potent venom that causes extreme pain and tissue damage. Stonefish blend into rocky seafloors, increasing the risk of accidental contact. Anti-venom exists, but immediate medical treatment is critical to prevent severe complications. Modern road safety relies heavily on advanced visual technology. Systems such as reflective lane markings, adaptive headlights, night vision cameras, and collision warning displays enhance driver perception. These technologies compensate for human visual limitations, especially in low-light or high-speed conditions, significantly reducing accidents through early detection and clearer visual cues. The flower grown in space bloomed aboard the International Space Station in 2016. Astronauts successfully cultivated a zinnia plant in microgravity. The experiment helped scientists understand how flowering plants respond to space conditions, which is essential for future long-duration missions requiring onboard food production. The Tristan da Cunha rail is the smallest flightless bird in the world. It lives only on Inaccessible Island in the South Atlantic Ocean. Measuring about 15 centimeters, it evolved without predators, losing the ability to fly. Its isolation makes it vulnerable to environmental changes and invasive species. Before another long-running animated cartoon took the record, a Stone Age-themed series was the most successful animated television show. The Flintstones aired in prime time during the 1960s and attracted adult audiences. Its popularity demonstrated that animated shows could succeed beyond children's programming and influence mainstream television. The symbol on the Portuguese flag includes an armillary sphere, an ancient navigation instrument. Sailors once used it to model celestial movements and determine position at sea. Its presence reflects Portugal's maritime history during the Age of Exploration, when navigation technology played a central role in global expansion. The characters Yoda and Miss Piggy were both voiced by Frank Oz. Despite their vastly different personalities, the same performer used precise voice control and timing to bring both characters to life. This showcases how vocal performance can create entirely distinct identities from a single human voice. Glass fiber optics were first proposed to illuminate operating rooms rather than transmit data. Early designs aimed to safely direct light into surgical spaces without heat or electricity near patients. Only later did scientists realize the same principles could carry information, leading to modern high-speed communication networks. Newborn babies initially see mainly shades of black, white, and gray. Their visual system is still developing, and color-sensitive cells mature over time. High contrast helps infants focus, which is why bold patterns are more visible early on. Full-color vision develops gradually over several months. Famous homes often become cultural landmarks due to association rather than architecture alone. Residences of artists, writers, or political figures attract visitors interested in personal history. Over time, these homes shift from private spaces to preserved sites, reflecting how individual lives can shape collective cultural memory. Flowers generally emit stronger scents as temperatures rise because warmth provides energy for aromatic compounds, known as volatile organic compounds, to vaporize and disperse into the air. This increased scent release helps plants communicate more effectively with pollinators. Although extreme heat can cause fragrances to fade more quickly or stress the plant, moderate warmth usually enhances scent production and spread, supporting successful pollination. The largest indoor water park in the world is located in Brandenburg, Germany. Built inside a former aircraft hangar, it contains tropical vegetation, pools, and artificial beaches. The structure maintains a warm climate year-round, demonstrating how large-scale engineering can simulate natural environments indoors. There is a cosmic boundary beyond which light cannot reach us, known as the observable universe. Due to the expansion of space, light from extremely distant regions has not had enough time to arrive. This limit defines what humans can ever observe, regardless of future technological advances. Jackie Chan has released numerous music albums in multiple languages, including Mandarin, Cantonese, Japanese, and English. Many songs were used in films he starred in. His music career reflects his broader entertainment influence beyond acting, particularly in East Asian popular culture. A major car manufacturer, Volkswagen Group, owns several luxury automobile brands. These include Audi, Porsche, Bentley, and Lamborghini. By managing diverse brands under one corporation, the company shares technology and production resources while maintaining distinct identities across different market segments. The Margherita pizza was named after Queen Margherita of Italy in the 19th century. The toppings of tomato, mozzarella, and basil represent the Italian flag. The dish became a national symbol. This origin story is popular but debated by historians and not conclusively proven. Rubbing stainless steel under running water can help reduce strong odors on the hands, such as those from garlic or fish. While it is often said that the metal neutralizes sulfur compounds, there is no solid scientific evidence that stainless steel chemically binds these odor molecules. The odor reduction is more likely caused by physical removal of residues combined with water rinsing rather than chemical neutralization. Tomatoes, potatoes, and eggplants all belong to the nightshade family, known as Solanaceae. This plant group includes both edible crops and toxic species. Shared genetic traits explain similarities in flower structure and chemical compounds. Despite the vegetable's very different culinary uses, fast food chains consume billions of eggs each year to meet global demand. Eggs are used in breakfast items, sauces, and baked goods. Large-scale consumption drives industrial egg production, influencing agricultural practices, supply chains, and food pricing worldwide. Words in a language can change meaning, pronunciation, and usage surprisingly fast, sometimes within a few generations. For example, the word awful once meant something inspiring or worthy of awe, while today it means very bad. Social trends, technology, and frequent use all push language to adapt continuously rather than remain fixed. Jericho, located near the Jordan River in the modern-day West Bank, is considered one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities on Earth. Archaeological evidence shows settlement layers dating back to around 9000 BCE. Its long history is linked to reliable water sources, fertile land, and its position along ancient trade routes. Some river deltas grow unevenly because Earth's rotation slightly deflects moving water through the Coriolis effect. Over long periods, this causes sediment-heavy currents to favor one side of a delta. Scientists have measured these asymmetries in major systems like the Mississippi River, where tiny daily shifts accumulate into visible geological patterns. The village of Yuzcar in southern Spain was painted entirely blue in 2011 for the promotion of a Smurfs movie. Originally white, every building was coated in blue paint as part of the marketing campaign. After tourism increased dramatically, residents voted to keep the village blue permanently instead of restoring its original color. Certain financial institutions offer exclusive tools and services designed only for ultra-wealthy clients. These may include private investment funds, personalized risk strategies, and direct access to specialized advisors. Entry often requires millions in assets, meaning the products are invisible to ordinary customers despite operating within the same global financial system. Bolivia officially recognizes more than 30 indigenous languages alongside Spanish. Languages such as Quechua, Aymara, and Guarani are protected by law and used in education and government. This policy reflects the country's large indigenous population and aims to preserve linguistic diversity that existed long before European colonization. The narrowest street in the world is often identified as Spreuerhofstrasse in Reutlingen, Germany. At its tightest point, the street measures about 31 centimeters wide, barely wider than a human shoulder. It was created unintentionally during medieval reconstruction and is officially recorded in city land registries. Movable bridges are engineering solutions designed to let boats pass while still supporting road or rail traffic. Types include drawbridges, bascule bridges, and swing bridges. Famous examples, like London's Tower Bridge, use counterweights and hydraulic systems, allowing massive structures to move smoothly with relatively little energy. Early mechanical calculating machines used gears with varying numbers of teeth to represent mathematical relationships. By physically encoding multiplication tables into gear ratios, these devices could perform calculations automatically when turned by a crank. Machines developed by inventors like Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz laid groundwork for later computational technology. Many early tools, machines, and structures were made primarily from wood because it was widely available and easy to shape. Watermills, clocks, and early looms often relied on wooden gears and frames. Although less durable than metal, wood allowed early engineers to prototype complex mechanisms long before advanced metallurgy became common. The decorative pattern on Oreo cookies was inspired by architectural motifs popular in the early 20th century. The original design, introduced in 1912, was relatively simple, featuring a wreath pattern with the name Oreo in the center. The more elaborate and now iconic design, created by William Turnier in 1952, includes a central logo surrounded by 12 symmetrical, four-petaled shapes. This later pattern has remained largely unchanged, making it one of the most recognizable cookie designs worldwide. Some public spaces become symbols of romance through repeated cultural use rather than intentional design. Places like Paris's Pont des Arts gained romantic meaning after couples attached love locks over many years. Films, photographs, and personal traditions reinforce these associations, gradually transforming ordinary infrastructure into landmarks tied to emotional significance. China uses a single official time zone, despite spanning a distance that would normally cover about 5 geographic time zones. The standard time, Beijing time, applies across the entire country. This decision was made after 1949 to promote national unity, even though sunrise and sunset times vary greatly between eastern and western regions. Plants have survived beyond Earth under controlled conditions aboard space stations. Experiments on the International Space Station have grown lettuce, wheat, and flowering plants in microgravity. These studies help scientists understand how plants respond to reduced gravity, radiation, and limited soil, which is important for long-term space missions. The earliest fireproof safes relied on gypsum, a mineral that contains chemically bound water. When exposed to extreme heat, the gypsum releases steam, absorbing energy and slowing temperature rise inside the safe. This method was widely used in the 19th century and provided effective protection for paper documents during building fires. The small arrow near a car's fuel gauge indicates which side of the vehicle the fuel tank opening is on. This feature was introduced to reduce confusion when refueling unfamiliar cars. The arrow points left or right toward the fuel cap, saving drivers from checking manually or stepping out of the car unnecessarily. Singapore's Changi Airport features the tallest indoor waterfall in the world, known as the Rain Vortex. It stands about 40 meters tall and recycles rainwater collected from the airport roof. Beyond aesthetics, the structure helps with cooling and humidity control inside the terminal complex. Rhode Island is the smallest U.S. state by land area, covering roughly 1,000 square miles. Despite its size, it played a significant role in early American history, particularly in trade and industry. Its short distances allow residents to cross the entire state in under an hour by car. Soft drinks often taste slightly different depending on the container because glass is chemically inert. Unlike plastic or metal, glass does not absorb flavors or release compounds into the drink. This helps preserve carbonation and original taste, which is why many people report that beverages from glass bottles taste cleaner. Some animals display extremely rare color variations due to uncommon genetic mutations. Conditions like leucism or melanism can cause individuals to appear almost entirely white or black, These variations may affect camouflage and survival, making such animals less common in the wild, despite being visually striking. Costume designers, for a fantasy television series, repurposed ordinary household rugs to create cloaks worn by characters. The thick, woven texture provided warmth and a rugged appearance suitable for harsh fictional environments. After aging and dying, the rugs became visually convincing garments without requiring custom fabric production. Certain remote islands become inaccessible at times due to aggressive wildlife rather than weather or geography. For example, some seabird nesting sites are closed during breeding seasons because birds will actively attack intruders. These restrictions protect both humans and animal populations by minimizing dangerous encounters. The zoetrope was one of the earliest devices used to create the illusion of motion. Developed in the 19th century, it consisted of a spinning cylinder with slits and a sequence of drawings inside. When viewed through the slits, the images appeared to move. This principle later influenced film projectors and modern animation techniques. The original Batmobile, used in the 1960s television series, was based on a customized Lincoln Futura concept car. Decades later, the vehicle was sold at auction for several $1,000,000. Its value came from its cultural significance, rarity, and association with early televised superhero entertainment. A well-known razor company struggled during its first year because customers did not immediately understand the need for replaceable blades. Early sales were low despite an innovative design. Only after improved marketing and distribution did the company succeed, eventually shaping the modern razor and blade business model. Barbie and Ken dolls were named after real people connected to their creator. Ruth Handler named Barbie after her daughter Barbara and Ken after her son Kenneth. These personal references became globally recognized names, showing how family influences shaped one of the most successful toy brands in history. The Industrial Revolution marked a shift from hand-based labor to machine-driven production during the late 18th and 19th centuries. Factories replaced small workshops, steam power increased output, and urban populations grew rapidly. This transformation changed how goods were made, how people worked, and how economies were organized. Early smartphone applications helped define how modern app stores function. Simple tools like calculators, weather apps, and mobile games demonstrated the value of downloadable software. Their popularity encouraged standardized marketplaces, developer guidelines, and centralized distribution, forming the foundation of today's global app ecosystems. Ukraine's national anthem focuses on endurance and persistence rather than military victory. Written in the 19th century, its lyrics emphasize survival, identity, and hope during hardship. The song reflects the country's long history of struggle and resilience rather than conquest or celebration of power. Bright colors in animals often function as warning signals to predators. This phenomenon, known as aposematism, signals that an animal may be toxic, venomous, or unpleasant to eat. Examples include poison dart frogs and monarch butterflies, whose vivid colors reduce attacks by teaching predators to avoid them. The first wind tunnels were built to test bridge designs rather than aircraft. Engineers studying failures of long-span bridges needed controlled airflow to understand oscillations and collapse risks. These experiments later proved valuable for aviation, as the same principles of airflow and stability applied to early airplane designs. Some desert plants position their leaves vertically to reduce exposure to intense midday sunlight. This orientation minimizes heat damage while still allowing efficient photosynthesis during morning and late afternoon. It functions like turning a solar panel edge on during peak heat to avoid overload while maintaining energy capture. Antipodes are locations on Earth that lie directly opposite each other, connected by a straight line through the planet's center. Standing at one point, your antipode would be beneath your feet on the other side of the globe. Most antipodes fall in oceans due to Earth's land distribution. Medieval glassmakers discovered that adding manganese dioxide could counteract the green tint caused by iron impurities. While aiming for clearer glass, they unintentionally practiced early color correction chemistry. This technique allowed production of more visually appealing glass centuries before modern chemical understanding existed. India withdrew from the 1950 FIFA World Cup, despite having qualified, mainly due to financial difficulties, travel challenges, and limited preparation. Although it is often claimed that India pulled out because players were required to wear boots instead of playing barefoot, this rule was already known. The largest known pearl is the Pearl of Puerto Princesa from the Philippines, which weighs about 34 kilograms. For many years, it was kept as a good luck charm by a local fisherman and remained unrecognized for its significance. When it was later documented, it surpassed the Pearl of Lao Tzu, revealing the exceptional size that natural giant clam pearls can reach without human intervention. To prevent cheating during exams, some institutions introduced unusually designed hats that blocked peripheral vision. These physical barriers made it harder for students to look at others' papers. While effective, such methods also drew attention for their strange appearance and rigid approach to academic integrity. Shar-Pei dogs have heavily wrinkled skin due to unusually high levels of hyaluronic acid. This substance causes the skin to thicken and fold. Historically, the loose skin also provided protection in dogfights, making it harder for opponents to grip vital areas. Vodka remains liquid at very low temperatures because of its alcohol content. Ethanol lowers the freezing point, allowing vodka to stay fluid in cold environments. This property made it popular in colder regions, where it could be stored without freezing while still remaining drinkable. One city banned mouse hunting to protect local wildlife and ecological balance. Authorities determined that unregulated hunting disrupted predator-prey relationships. By restricting the practice, officials aimed to preserve species diversity and prevent unintended environmental consequences caused by removing a small but important animal population. Learnability refers to the ability to continuously acquire new skills over time. In rapidly changing industries, this trait allows individuals to adapt as tools and knowledge evolve. Rather than mastering one fixed skill, learnability focuses on how efficiently someone can keep updating their abilities. A transparent viewing platform extends over the French Alps, allowing visitors to look straight down through glass flooring. Suspended at high altitude, the structure combines engineering precision with tourism. Its design ensures safety while offering unobstructed views of steep cliffs and mountain terrain below. Hyenas are genetically closer to cats than to dogs, despite their dog-like appearance. They belong to a separate biological family, more closely related to felines. This relationship explains certain anatomical traits, such as skull structure, that differ from true canines. China has the largest number of internet users in the world, with hundreds of millions of people online. Rapid urbanization, affordable smartphones, and widespread mobile networks contributed to this growth. The scale of its user base has strongly influenced global digital platforms and online market trends. Baby rabbits are called kittens, a term also used for young cats. The word comes from older English usage describing small mammals. Rabbit kittens are born hairless and blind, relying entirely on their mother during early development, before growing fur and opening their eyes. On a logarithmic scale, comparing sizes, a grain of sand falls roughly between an atom and the Earth. Logarithmic scales compress extreme differences, making it possible to visualize vast size ranges. This comparison highlights how everyday objects sit between microscopic particles and planetary dimensions. Some flowers have evolved shapes that closely resemble animals. Bee orchids mimic the appearance of female bees, encouraging pollination through deception. Flying duck orchids resemble small birds in flight. These forms result from natural selection, favoring plants that attract specific pollinators effectively. Ancient Andean road builders shaped stones with slightly convex surfaces, so rainwater would run off immediately instead of pooling. At high mountain altitudes, trapped water can freeze and expand, cracking stone over time. By encouraging constant drainage, these roads resisted freeze-thaw damage for centuries without using mortar, relying purely on geometry and gravity for durability. The Amazon milk frog has a smooth body, large eyes, and bold color contrasts that give it a robotic appearance. Its skin secretes a milky substance that helps reduce moisture loss and may deter microbes. Native to rainforest canopies, the frog's unusual look comes from adaptations to arboreal life rather than artificial design. The Great Wall of China cannot be seen from space with the naked eye under normal conditions. Its width is similar to highways, and its color blends with surrounding landscapes. Astronauts have confirmed that even from low Earth orbit, it is difficult to distinguish without magnification or ideal lighting. Some fungi glow under ultraviolet light due to chemical compounds called secondary metabolites. These molecules absorb high-energy light and re-emit it as visible fluorescence. Scientists are still studying why this occurs, but it may relate to deterring predators, attracting insects, or protecting the fungus from environmental stress. When threatened by predators, reindeer form tight defensive circles with their calves positioned in the center. Adults face outward, using antlers and hooves to deter attacks from wolves. This coordinated behavior reduces vulnerability and increases survival, functioning like a living shield built through instinct rather than planning. Germany's Wuppertal Suspension Railway has been operating since 1901 and still carries passengers daily. Instead of running on tracks below, trains hang from an overhead rail. Built to save space above the Wupper River, the system demonstrates how unconventional engineering can remain practical for more than a century. On average, women tend to have slightly larger pupil diameters than men under similar lighting conditions. Pupil size affects how much light enters the eye and can influence visual sensitivity. Researchers believe hormonal and neurological differences contribute, though the variation is subtle and overlaps significantly between individuals. The oldest known written recipe for soap appears on Mesopotamian clay tablets dating to around 2800 BCE. It describes mixing plant ash with animal fat to produce a cleansing substance. This method relies on basic chemical reactions and shows that early civilizations understood practical chemistry long before modern science. Many marine animals release enormous numbers of eggs or larvae to ensure survival. A single ocean sunfish can produce more than 300 million eggs at once. Most offspring never reach adulthood, but sheer quantity increases the chance that some will survive predators and environmental hazards. Early aviation maps focused on landmarks visible from the air rather than roads. Chimneys, rail yards, rivers, and large buildings were emphasized because pilots navigated visually. Roads were often hard to see from altitude, so aerial navigation relied on bold, industrial, or geometric features recognizable from above. The blue color of a major social media platform was chosen partly for accessibility. Its creator has red-green color blindness, and blue contrasts more clearly for that condition. The choice also provided strong readability on screens, showing how design decisions can be influenced by human perception rather than branding alone. Entire towns sometimes change their appearance for cultural or economic reasons. Buildings may be repainted, redesigned, or decorated to support festivals, films, or tourism campaigns. These transformations can alter local identity and economy, showing how architecture and color influence perception without changing the town's physical structure. At its greatest extent, the Roman Empire stretched across much of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. It connected distant regions through roads, laws, and trade networks. This scale allowed ideas, technology, and goods to move efficiently across thousands of kilometers under a centralized administration. Monaco is the most densely populated country in the world, with tens of thousands of people living in just over 2 square kilometers. Limited land and high economic demand have driven vertical construction. This density shapes daily life, urban planning, and infrastructure in ways unlike larger nations. A themed restaurant in Taiwan serves meals in dishes shaped like toilets. Food items are presented to resemble bathroom fixtures as part of the novelty experience. While hygienically prepared, the unusual presentation focuses on shock and humor, demonstrating how dining can be transformed into a visual and cultural attraction. The most expensive dollhouse ever created is valued at $8.5 million. It includes miniature works by famous artists, functional lighting, and detailed furnishings. Rather than being a toy, it functions as a scaled architectural and artistic exhibition showcasing craftsmanship at extremely small proportions. Many country names that begin with the same letter also end with that letter due to linguistic structure. For example, several names starting with the letter A also end in A. This pattern often comes from Latin or Greek naming conventions rather than coincidence or deliberate design. Some bacteria survive antibiotic treatment by entering dormant states instead of mutating. These persister cells slow their metabolism, making antibiotics ineffective because most drugs target active processes. Once treatment stops, the bacteria can reactivate, complicating efforts to fully eliminate infections. A forest in Oregon forms the shape of a smiling face each year due to planned tree harvesting. Darker evergreen trees outline the smile, while lighter areas appear where logging occurs. The pattern is visible from above and was intentionally designed by forest managers rather than occurring naturally. The sound heard when holding a seashell to the ear does not come from the ocean. It is ambient noise from the surrounding environment resonating inside the shell's curved interior. The shell amplifies certain frequencies, similar to how blowing across a bottle opening produces sound. San Marino is considered the world's oldest existing sovereign state. Founded in the early 4th century, it has maintained continuous independence through changing empires and borders. Its longevity comes from geographic isolation, diplomatic neutrality, and early adoption of a stable republican system. Biological differences between genders exist in areas such as hormone levels, average body composition, and reproductive anatomy. These differences can influence metabolism, muscle distribution, and disease presentation. While individual variation is large, population-level patterns are well documented in medical and biological research. Astronaut Charles Duke left a photograph of his family on the moon during the Apollo 16 mission in 1972. The photo included handwritten text identifying his wife and children. Exposed to radiation and temperature extremes, it remains a personal artifact of human presence beyond Earth. The Proto-Elamite writing system used numerical symbols that changed meaning depending on the goods being counted. Numbers were not abstract, but embedded with units such as grain or livestock. This shows that early accounting systems tied quantity directly to material context rather than separating numbers from measurements. Certain deep-sea sponges build skeletal frameworks from silica that can guide light through their internal structures. These natural glass fibers transmit light similarly to optical cables, even in complete darkness. Scientists studying these sponges have found that their light-guiding properties may inspire new approaches in bio-optical engineering and low-energy light transmission systems. In classical rhetoric schools of ancient Greece and Rome, students memorize speeches by mapping ideas onto imagined buildings. This method, called the method of loci, involved placing arguments in specific rooms or landmarks within a mental structure. By mentally walking through the space, speakers could recall complex arguments in the correct order during public speaking. Modern technology now allows live visual portals between distant cities. These installations use high-resolution screens, cameras, and real-time data transmission to create the illusion of a shared physical window. People can see and interact with others thousands of kilometers away, blending public art, telecommunications, and urban design into a single experience. A fruit known as black sapote naturally tastes similar to chocolate pudding when ripe. Native to Central America, it has soft, dark flesh and a mild sweetness. Despite the flavor, it contains no cocoa. The taste comes from its chemical composition, making it a popular ingredient in desserts without added chocolate. Humans generally cannot smell while sleeping because sensory processing is reduced. The brain limits how smell signals are interpreted during sleep, prioritizing rest over environmental awareness. Strong odors can still cause awakening, but subtle scents usually go unnoticed, showing how the brain selectively filters sensory information during different states of consciousness. Dubai is home to one of the largest flower gardens in the world, containing tens of millions of blooming plants. Carefully maintained despite the desert climate, the garden relies on irrigation systems and seasonal planting. It demonstrates how controlled environments can support large-scale botanical displays in extreme conditions. Puffins are often called sea parrots because of their brightly colored beaks. During the breeding season, the beak becomes especially vivid, displaying orange, yellow, and blue tones. These colors play a role in mate selection. Outside breeding periods, the beak fades, showing how appearance can change seasonally. The first Industrial noise regulations emerged after textile workers experienced widespread hearing loss. As factories grew louder, governments and engineers began measuring sound levels to establish safety limits. This led to early acoustic standards, recognizing noise as a workplace hazard that required regulation, much like chemical or physical dangers. On clear days, visitors standing atop Chicago's Willis Tower can see into multiple states. From the observation deck, parts of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin may be visible. The wide view is possible due to the tower's height and the flat surrounding landscape, which allows distant horizons to remain unobstructed. Bullying can cause long-term psychological harm that extends into adulthood. Research links repeated bullying to increased risks of anxiety, depression, and difficulty forming relationships later in life. The effects persist because chronic stress during development can alter emotional regulation and self-perception, making early social experiences highly influential. The United Arab Emirates uses drones to help stimulate rainfall through cloud seeding. These drones release electrical charges into clouds, encouraging water droplets to combine and fall as rain. The technique aims to increase precipitation in arid regions, supplementing traditional water sources through atmospheric modification. Vodka was originally used as a medicinal substance before becoming a social drink. In Eastern Europe, it was prescribed as a disinfectant and treatment for ailments. Its alcohol content allowed preservation and sterilization, making it valuable in medical contexts long before it became associated with recreation. Mirror hours occur when the hour and minute display the same numbers, such as 11:11 or 22:22. These moments are simply numerical coincidences caused by the structure of digital clocks. While often assigned symbolic meaning, they result from predictable time formatting rather than any physical phenomenon. The mimosa plant can rapidly close its leaves when touched due to changes in water pressure within its cells. This movement occurs within seconds and does not rely on growth. The response may help deter herbivores or reduce damage, showing that plants can exhibit fast mechanical reactions to external stimuli. Apples belong to the same plant family as roses, known as Rosaceae. This family also includes pears, cherries, and strawberries. Shared traits include flower structure and seed development. The connection explains similarities in blossoms and genetic traits, despite the very different forms the fruits eventually take. The first logo of a major technology company depicted Isaac Newton sitting beneath an apple tree. It referenced the story of gravity and discovery. The detailed illustration was later replaced by a simpler design, reflecting a shift toward modern branding and easier recognition in a growing consumer technology market. A power plant in Copenhagen doubles as a ski slope built on its roof. The facility generates electricity while supporting recreation through artificial snow surfaces. Its design integrates infrastructure with public space, showing how industrial buildings can serve multiple roles without sacrificing functionality or safety. Some Pacific Island navigation chants encoded star paths as family genealogies. By linking stars to ancestors, navigators memorized complex routes across open ocean. These oral systems functioned as astronomical databases, preserving precise directional knowledge without written charts or instruments. Modern electronic devices rely on multiple layers of legal protection. These include patents, copyrights, and trade secrets that safeguard hardware designs, software code, and user interfaces. Legal frameworks help companies protect innovation while defining ownership, shaping how technology is developed, shared, and commercialized globally. Some self-driving car companies use realistic video game environments to train artificial intelligence. These simulations allow vehicles to experience rare or dangerous scenarios safely. By running millions of virtual miles, algorithms learn decision-making patterns faster than real-world testing alone could achieve. China hosts some of the world's most extreme obstacle courses, often used for military and athletic competitions. These courses feature steep walls, water traps, and endurance challenges. Designed to test strength, coordination, and resilience, they emphasize physical limits rather than speed alone. A saddle-shaped mountain in Mexico serves as a well-known natural landmark. Its curved profile resembles a riding saddle, making it easily recognizable from a distance. Such formations result from erosion acting unevenly on rock layers, carving distinct silhouettes that often become cultural and geographic reference points. The first public time signals were delivered by firing cannons at exactly noon from prominent locations. Cities used the sound to synchronize clocks, but distance caused delays, meaning people farther away heard the signal later. This turned timekeeping into an urban coordination problem, where accuracy depended on geography, sound speed, and public awareness rather than precise instruments, especially in expanding port cities. Certain medications can reduce levels of essential vitamins and minerals in the body. For example, long-term use of some acid-reducing drugs can interfere with vitamin B12 absorption, while specific antibiotics may affect vitamin K. These interactions occur because medicines can alter digestion, gut bacteria, or nutrient absorption pathways over extended treatment periods. In Japan, some unused public phone booths have been converted into goldfish aquariums. Transparent walls allow passers-by to view the fish inside, turning obsolete infrastructure into public art. These installations reflect Japan's approach to reusing urban space while blending everyday objects with aesthetic and cultural expression in dense neighborhoods. The tallest sandcastle ever built was constructed in Denmark and stood over 20 meters high. It required thousands of tons of sand and the help of engineers to maintain stability. Special mixtures of sand and water were used to prevent collapse, showing that large sand structures rely on controlled physics, not just sculpting skill. The name Wendy became popular after the publication of Peter Pan in the early 20th century. Before the story, Wendy was extremely rare as a given name. J.M. Barrie popularized it through his character, leading parents to adopt it widely, demonstrating how literature can directly influence naming trends across cultures. Human perception operates beyond conscious awareness. The brain continuously processes sensory information, filtering most of it without conscious notice. This includes detecting patterns, recognizing threats, and regulating balance. Such unconscious processing allows quick reactions and efficient functioning, even though people only experience a small portion of what the senses detect at any moment. Christmas Island hosts a massive annual migration of red crabs, with millions moving from forests to the sea to breed. Roads are closed to protect them as they cross. The timing is linked to rainfall and lunar cycles, making the migration a predictable natural event that dominates the island's ecosystem each year. The Olympic rings symbolize unity among athletes from 5 inhabited continents. Each ring represents a continent linked together to show international cooperation. The colors were chosen because at least one appears on every national flag. The design emphasizes global participation rather than competition between regions or political systems. White rhinoceroses are not actually white but gray. The name likely comes from a misinterpretation of a Dutch word meaning wide, describing the animal's mouth shape. Over time, the term was mistranslated into English as white, creating a misleading but widely accepted name in scientific and popular use. An early version of spreadsheet software included a hidden flight simulation game. Developers added it as an Easter egg, accessible through a specific sequence of actions. While unrelated to the program's purpose, it showcased programming creativity and later raised concerns about hidden code in professional software used by businesses. Some cruise ships offer permanent residential living, allowing people to buy or lease cabins long-term. These residents live at sea while traveling between ports worldwide. The ships provide housing, utilities, and services, functioning like floating apartment complexes combined with continuous international travel and scheduled global routes. The electric chair was developed in the late 19th century through the combined efforts of several contributors, including dentists, engineers, and physicians. Dentist Alfred P. Southwick played an early role by proposing electricity as an alternative to hanging, but the final design drew on broader medical and electrical expertise. Language can evolve alongside agriculture as new farming practices require new words, measurements, and social coordination. Early agricultural societies developed terms for crops, seasons, tools, and land ownership. As farming spread, these concepts shaped grammar and vocabulary, embedding ideas of time, labor, and property directly into language, showing how daily survival activities can influence how humans communicate abstract ideas. A group of gorillas is called a troop, or sometimes a band. These groups are typically led by a dominant silverback male who coordinates movement, protection, and access to resources. The collective name reflects their structured social organization, where relationships, hierarchy, and cooperation are essential for survival in dense forest environments. The first waterproof watches relied on cork gaskets to keep water out. Watchmakers borrowed this idea from wine bottles, where cork had long been used as an effective seal. The material's compressibility allowed it to expand and fill gaps, protecting delicate watch mechanisms from moisture before synthetic rubber seals were developed. Many insects rely on chemical defenses to survive predators. These chemicals may taste bitter, cause irritation, or even be toxic. For example, certain beetles release foul-smelling compounds, while monarch butterflies store toxins from the plants they eat. Such defenses reduce predation by making insects memorable and unpleasant targets. Baby possums can briefly hang from their tails during early development. While adult possums use their tails mainly for balance and gripping branches, young possums have enough tail strength to support their light body weight for short moments. This ability helps them cling to their mother or nearby surfaces during early growth stages. Marine fossils have been discovered near the summit of Mount Everest. These fossils come from ancient sea organisms that lived millions of years ago. Their presence indicates that the rock layers were once part of an ocean floor, later uplifted by tectonic forces during the formation of the Himalayas. Some cities replicate famous foreign landmarks to attract tourism. Examples include scaled versions of the Eiffel Tower or Venetian canals built far from their originals. These replicas create familiar visual experiences, allowing visitors to encounter global architecture without international travel, blending imitation with local urban development strategies. Many celebrities collect unusual items unrelated to their careers. These collections range from historical artifacts to everyday objects amassed in large quantities. Such hobbies reflect personal interests rather than public personas, showing that fame does not limit curiosity or the desire to preserve niche or unexpected items privately. Time zones influence when global celebrations occur. Events like New Year's Eve happen at different moments worldwide, creating a rolling sequence of celebrations. This system coordinates daily life across regions while also shaping shared experiences as people observe others welcoming the same event hours earlier or later through media. In the 19th century, courtroom sketches acted as visual records before cameras were allowed in trials. Artists quickly drew scenes, capturing faces, gestures, and atmosphere. These sketches served as public documentation, influencing how legal proceedings were perceived before photography became legally accepted inside courtrooms and judicial settings. A dog's nose print is unique, much like a human fingerprint. The pattern of ridges and creases differs between individuals and remains stable over time. Because of this, nose prints can be used for identification, particularly in controlled environments such as breeding records, veterinary documentation, and working dog registries. During the early 20th century, Cleveland was one of the largest cities in the United States. Its growth was driven by manufacturing, steel production, and transportation networks. The city's population ranked among the top 5 nationally, reflecting how industrialization shaped urban importance during that era of rapid economic expansion. In classical Chinese metallurgy, bell sounds were tuned by adjusting the tin content of bronze alloys. Rather than altering the bell after casting, craftsmen controlled pitch through precise material composition. This approach required a deep understanding of how metal properties affect vibration and sound resonance consistency. Canadian banknotes are made from a polymer plastic rather than paper. This material increases durability, resists moisture, and improves security features like transparent windows. Polymer notes last longer in circulation, reducing replacement costs while also making counterfeiting more difficult through complex embedded elements. Eider duck feathers are among the most expensive in the world due to their insulating properties. Collected from nests after breeding season, the down provides exceptional warmth with very low weight. Harvesting is labor-intensive and carefully regulated, contributing to its high value and limited global availability. Classic films often remain popular across generations because their themes, storytelling, and craftsmanship remain relatable. Advances in restoration also preserve image and sound quality. As a result, older films continue reaching new audiences, maintaining cultural relevance long after their original release in modern viewing formats. Compact discs were designed to hold approximately 74 minutes of audio. This length was chosen to accommodate a complete recording of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. The decision influenced storage standards, showing how artistic preferences can shape technological specifications adopted worldwide by manufacturers. A dangerous road in China was carved directly into a mountainside, forming a narrow path along steep cliffs. Built to connect remote areas, it required manual excavation through rock. The road's design reflects extreme terrain adaptation rather than conventional transportation planning, prioritizing access over comfort or safety margins. Some urban air purification technologies are designed to mimic trees. These structures use filters, airflow systems, and sometimes algae to absorb pollutants. By copying natural processes, they aim to reduce air pollution in dense cities where planting large numbers of real trees is difficult or impractical. The earliest voting machines used colored balls dropped into hidden tubes to register choices. Each color represented a different option, and concealment ensured secrecy. The system translated individual decisions into physical movement, forming an early mechanical method for recording votes reliably in organized elections. Some natural lakes appear unreal due to extreme water clarity. When particles and algae are minimal, light penetrates deeply, making the water look transparent. This clarity can create optical illusions where boats seem to float in air, even though the effect is purely physical and environmental in origin. Tropical regions host many unusual insect species due to stable climates and abundant vegetation. Constant warmth allows insects to specialize in narrow ecological roles, leading to extreme shapes, colors, and behaviors. Examples include leaf insects that mimic plants and beetles with exaggerated horns, reflecting intense evolutionary pressure and competition. All the gold ever mined in human history would fill only a few Olympic-sized swimming pools. Despite gold's cultural importance, it is relatively rare in Earth's crust. Estimates suggest that all refined gold could fit into a cube about 22 meters on each side, highlighting how limited the global supply truly is. Some monkey species greet each other with unusual gestures that resemble rituals. Capuchin monkeys may stick fingers into each other's mouths, while certain macaques touch faces or lips. These behaviors help establish trust and reduce tension, functioning as social signals that maintain group stability and cooperation. The Royal Clipper is the largest full-rigged sailing ship in the world. Inspired by 19th century clipper ships, it carries 5 masts and thousands of square meters of sail. Although equipped with modern navigation systems, it relies primarily on wind power, blending traditional sailing design with contemporary engineering and safety standards. France's longest land border is not in Europe, but in South America. French Guiana, an overseas department, shares a long border with Brazil. Because it is legally part of France, this border counts as French territory, illustrating how colonial history continues to shape modern political geography. Collectible currency can gain unexpected value due to rarity, historical context, or printing errors. A misprinted banknote or short-lived coin design may become highly desirable to collectors. Over time, demand can far exceed original face value, turning ordinary money into valuable historical artifacts. The smallest horse ever recorded was a miniature mare named Thumbelina. She stood only about 44 centimeters tall and weighed less than 30 kilograms. Despite her size, she was fully grown and healthy, demonstrating how selective breeding can dramatically alter animal proportions while maintaining basic biological function. Obsidian, a natural volcanic glass, can be sharper than steel surgical scalpels. When fractured, it forms edges only a few molecules thick. Because of this extreme sharpness, obsidian blades can make very clean cuts, although their fragility limits widespread medical use compared to metal instruments. Some countries appear unusually close to perfect geometric shapes when viewed on a map. This often results from borders drawn along lines of latitude and longitude rather than natural features. Such shapes usually reflect political decisions made during colonization or land division rather than organic geographic boundaries. In the 19th century, color blindness testing developed after railway accidents were linked to signal misinterpretation. Engineers realized that some workers could not reliably distinguish red and green lights. This discovery connected sensory physiology directly to public safety, leading to mandatory vision testing for transportation workers. Oak trees support hundreds of dependent species throughout their lifespan. Insects feed on their leaves, birds nest in their branches, and fungi grow around their roots. Because oaks live for centuries, they provide long-term ecological stability, acting as foundational structures within many forest ecosystems. Mont Saint-Michel is a historic island structure located off the coast of Normandy, France. It is connected to the mainland by a causeway that floods during high tide. The site combines medieval architecture, religious history, and dramatic natural surroundings, making it both a strategic fortress and pilgrimage destination. The human heart beats well over 100,000 times each day. Each beat pumps blood through the circulatory system, delivering oxygen and nutrients while removing waste. This constant activity begins before birth and continues without conscious effort, demonstrating the heart's endurance and reliability as a biological pump. Jam and jelly differ mainly in how fruit is used during preparation. Jam contains crushed fruit or pulp, giving it a thicker texture and visible pieces. Jelly, by contrast, is made from strained fruit juice, resulting in a clear, smooth spread. The distinction reflects processing methods rather than flavor alone. A famous video game character's mustache was originally designed to overcome early graphic limitations. When characters were rendered with very few pixels, facial details were hard to show clearly. A mustache helped distinguish the nose from the mouth and made expressions readable. What began as a technical workaround later became an iconic character feature recognized across generations of players. Protective spiked dog collars were first used in ancient Greece to guard livestock dogs against wolves. The spikes prevented predators from biting the dog's neck during attacks. Made from leather reinforced with metal, these collars allowed dogs to defend herds more effectively, showing how animal equipment evolved alongside early pastoral societies and predator threats. In professional tennis matches, balls are replaced frequently to maintain consistent performance. As balls are hit, their felt wears down, and internal pressure drops, affecting speed and bounce. Professional tournaments replace balls after a fixed number of games to ensure fairness, allowing players to compete under predictable conditions throughout long, high-intensity matches. Central Asia's tallest chimney, located in Kazakhstan, has become a destination for extreme climbers. Rising over 300 meters, the industrial structure attracts athletes who scale it using specialized equipment. Its height, smooth surfaces, and exposure make it a unique challenge, turning a functional energy structure into an unexpected site for extreme sports. The Aliena Unum is an experimental electric supercar developed in Bulgaria, designed with more than 20 electric motors. Each wheel can contain multiple motors, allowing precise torque control. The concept focuses on extreme acceleration and power distribution, pushing electric vehicle engineering beyond conventional designs into highly specialized performance territory. A well-known rock singer, John Bon Jovi's first professional recording appeared on a themed holiday album. Early in their career, They contributed vocals to a Christmas compilation before achieving mainstream success. This recording is often overlooked, but it shows how many musicians begin with small or unexpected projects before gaining widespread recognition. Certain residential designs can create surreal living environments through unconventional shapes, colors, or layouts. Homes built into cliffs, underground spaces, or mirrored surfaces alter perception of space and light. These designs challenge traditional architecture, making everyday living feel visually unusual while still serving practical residential functions. Even a small amount of oil can contaminate large volumes of water. A single liter of oil can spread into a thin film covering thousands of square meters. This film blocks oxygen exchange and harms aquatic life, demonstrating how minor spills can cause disproportionate environmental damage due to oil's physical properties. Speech patterns vary significantly between individuals due to differences in anatomy, learning, culture, and social environment. Factors such as tongue shape, breathing control, and exposure to language influence accent and rhythm. These variations make every voice distinct, even among people speaking the same language and dialect. Disney characters often wear gloves to simplify animation. Early animators found that drawing hands with multiple fingers was time-consuming and visually confusing against dark bodies. White gloves made hand movements clearer and faster to animate, becoming a stylistic choice that later defined many classic animated characters. Relative speed increases when objects move toward each other. If two cars each travel at 50 kilometers per hour in opposite directions, their relative speed is 100 kilometers per hour. This concept explains why collisions feel more severe and why closing distances shrink faster than expected in opposing motion scenarios. Some ceramic artists intentionally create cracks during firing, a technique known as controlled crazing. By carefully adjusting cooling rates and glaze composition, fine crack patterns form on the surface. These cracks are valued aesthetically, turning what is usually a flaw into a deliberate decorative feature. An astronaut once drank espresso in space using a specially designed cup. In microgravity, liquids float instead of pouring, so the cup used surface tension to guide coffee toward the mouth. This design allowed astronauts to enjoy espresso safely, while demonstrating how everyday activities require engineering adjustments in space. Shakespeare's daughter, Judith Shakespeare, could not read or write. Historical records show she signed documents with a mark instead of a signature. This was not unusual for women at the time, reflecting limited access to formal education, even within families connected to literature and intellectual achievement. In English, no number contains the letter A before 1000. Words like 1 through 999 all avoid that letter. The first occurrence appears in the word thousand. This linguistic pattern is accidental, resulting from how number names evolved rather than deliberate design. Buffalo, often called water buffalo, are not true cattle, but a separate species domesticated thousands of years ago. They are better adapted to wet environments and are commonly used for farming in Asia. Their strength and tolerance for heat make them valuable working animals distinct from cows. No location in England is very far from the sea. The farthest point from the coast is less than 100 kilometers inland. This proximity has shaped England's climate, trade history, and naval development, ensuring that maritime influence reaches nearly every part of the country. Time can be measured in extremely small fractions, far beyond seconds. Modern atomic clocks measure time using vibrations of atoms, accurate to billionths of a second. Such precision is essential for technologies like GPS, telecommunications, and scientific experiments that rely on exact timing. The Pacific Ocean was named for its calm appearance by the explorer Ferdinand Magellan. During his voyage in the 16th century, he encountered unusually peaceful waters. Despite the name, the Pacific is capable of severe storms and contains some of the most active tectonic regions on Earth. These facts don't change how the world works, they explain it. Once you notice the reasons behind ordinary things, patterns start to appear where randomness once seemed to exist. That understanding is what connects history, science, and everyday life into something that finally makes sense. Atmospheric pressure determines weather patterns. It creates differences in air density and weight across various regions and altitudes on Earth. Higher pressure zones contain denser, cooler air that sinks, while lower pressure areas have rising warmer air. These pressure gradients drive wind formation as air flows from high to low pressure to balance the system, shaping rain, storms, and clear skies. Spicy food may help improve memory in adults. Compounds like capsaicin in chili peppers can influence brain blood flow and neurotransmitter activity. Regular consumption of spicy meals has shown associations with better cognitive performance in some studies. Painting a famous government building consumes enormous amounts of paint. The scale of the structure requires multiple coats across vast exterior surfaces. Coverage extends to intricate architectural details that increase total volume needed. Such projects demonstrate the logistical demands of maintaining large public monuments. Ancient Rome achieved exceptionally high population density relative to modern urban centers. Crowded residential blocks accommodated large numbers within limited space. Architectural designs supported dense living through multi-story structures. The arrangement highlights engineering solutions to urban pressures. Male deer shed and regrow their antlers annually. This cycle occurs after the mating season, when antlers are no longer needed for display or combat. New growth begins soon after shedding, fueled by seasonal hormonal changes. The process allows males to replace damaged or worn structures each year. Cultural traditions arise in part to provide outlets for stress relief. Communal rituals and seasonal observances create structured opportunities for emotional expression. Participation helps regulate individual and group tensions through shared activities. These practices fulfill adaptive roles in maintaining social equilibrium. The largest gold bar ever produced remains on permanent display in Japan. This massive ingot weighs several hundred kilograms and serves as a showcase piece at a financial institution. Its creation required specialized casting techniques to achieve uniform purity and size. The object symbolizes peak achievement in precious metal refining and presentation. Animal materials sometimes develop into luxury resources. Items like fur, ivory, or pearls gain high value through rarity, texture, and cultural demand. Their transformation depends on processing techniques and social preferences. This shift shows how natural origins can lead to elevated economic status. Living at sea is becoming permanent. Some individuals reside full-time on boats, ships, or floating homes as an alternative lifestyle. Advances in solar power, desalination, and satellite communication support extended offshore living. This choice appeals to those seeking mobility, minimalism, or escape from land-based constraints. The first transparent car prototype emerged from an American manufacturer. The experimental vehicle featured see-through body panels for demonstration purposes. The design showcased material innovations in automotive engineering. It represented a conceptual exploration rather than production intent. Many old streets in the United Kingdom are named after historical professions. Names such as Baker Street, Tanner Row, or Cooper Lane directly refer to the trades once dominant in those locations centuries ago. Residents and workers in specific crafts clustered together, leading authorities to label streets by the main occupation present. These names have survived as historical records of medieval and early modern urban economies. Animated films can outperform expected blockbusters. High production values, compelling stories, and broad family appeal sometimes lead to higher box office earnings than anticipated live-action films. Animation reaches diverse age groups through humor, visuals, and emotional depth. Success often exceeds predictions based on traditional genre expectations. Aging leads to the appearance of larger noses and ears. The change results from cartilage continuing to grow slowly, while surrounding skin loses elasticity. These tissues sag and elongate over time. The effect creates a visual impression of increased size without actual proportional expansion. Certain bacteria exchange entire metabolic pathways via plasmids in one generation. These mobile genetic elements allow rapid acquisition of new biochemical capabilities without gradual mutation. The transfer enables immediate functional shifts in response to environmental pressures. Such horizontal exchange accelerates evolutionary adaptation. Certain asteroids bear names assigned in honor of historical figures. Naming follows established protocols after orbital confirmation. The practice commemorates individuals from various fields of endeavor. It links celestial bodies to human historical recognition. Short naps contribute to improved alertness levels. Brief rest periods counteract accumulated fatigue and restore cognitive function. The effect stems from reduced sleep pressure without deep stage entry. These intervals support maintained performance during waking hours. Kiribati is the only country that exists in all four hemispheres. Its islands straddle the equator and the 181st meridian, placing parts in northern, southern, eastern, and western hemispheres. This unique geographical spread results from its vast Pacific Ocean territory. Qatar, Oman, and San Marino maintain extremely low levels of forest coverage within their territories. Arid climates, limited rainfall, and small land areas restrict tree growth in these locations. Natural vegetation consists mainly of sparse shrubs or desert plants rather than dense woodland. This scarcity reflects environmental constraints on forest development. Renaissance architects relied on string grids soaked in chalk to project scaled architectural designs onto building walls. Craftsmen stretched taut strings in precise patterns, then snapped them to transfer lines that left temporary chalk marks. The grid vanished as soon as actual construction covered the surface. This method enabled accurate enlargement of small-scale drawings during that era. A massive mirrored building blends into the desert landscape. The exterior walls are covered in highly reflective panels that mirror the surrounding sand dunes, sky, and rocks. This mirror-like finish creates an optical illusion of near invisibility from distant viewpoints. The structure appears to dissolve into the environment during certain lighting conditions. Japan's national anthem is the oldest and one of the shortest in the world. The melody dates back over 1,000 years, with lyrics from the 9th or 10th century. It consists of just 4 lines and lasts under a minute when performed. The brevity and age distinguish it from most modern national anthems. Preserved foods served vital functions in ensuring survival during wartime conditions. Methods like salting, smoking, and canning extended shelf life for extended periods. These techniques maintain nutritional supplies under restricted access to fresh provisions. Their application supported both military operations and civilian endurance. Human fingers contain very few muscles, as most finger movement is controlled by muscles in the forearm and palm. Tendons extend from forearm flexors and extensors through the hand to operate finger joints. Intrinsic hand muscles handle fine adjustments, like pinching. This division allows powerful grip strength with compact finger structure. Natural hair color statistics differ greatly from dyed hair. Global surveys show that brown and black dominate natural shades, while blonde and red occur less frequently. Artificial dyeing creates a much wider variety of colors not found in untouched human hair populations. A major search engine originated from a name tied to a back-rubbing joke. The playful origin reflected informal beginnings among its founders. The term evolved into a globally recognized brand. This history contrasts with the platform's current scale and influence. Baku is the largest city located below sea level. Parts of the Azerbaijani capital sit several meters under mean sea level due to its position near the Caspian Sea. Engineering works protect low-lying districts from flooding and subsidence. Historic disasters have been documented through rare surviving photographs. Early cameras captured images of events like shipwrecks, fires, or earthquakes before widespread news photography. These surviving plates or prints provide direct visual records from the time. Certain animals are physically incapable of specific movements due to anatomy. Structural features like fused bones, joint limitations, or muscle arrangements prevent actions such as jumping, turning the head fully, or bending in particular ways. These restrictions result from evolutionary adaptations to their environments and lifestyles. The creators of Superman sold the rights for a very small amount of money. In the early 1940s, the two young men transferred ownership of the character to a publisher for a modest lump sum. The deal included no ongoing royalties or future profit shares. This transaction occurred before the character's long-term cultural and commercial success. Antique objects exceed 100 years of age. Vintage items range from several decades old, and retro applies to present-day items styled after earlier periods. These classifications distinguish based on actual age versus intentional design revival. The categories guide assessment in collecting and commerce. They reflect evolving perspectives on historical value. A children's song holds the record as the most viewed video in online history. This position belongs to a simple nursery rhyme rather than a major cinematic production or celebrity performance. Its widespread appeal stems from repetitive, educational content that engages young audiences globally. The dominance reflects how accessible platforms amplify children's media consumption. A stray kitten and a lynx established a prolonged friendship inside a zoo enclosure. The connection developed through regular interaction despite their different species backgrounds. Coexistence allowed mutual tolerance and companionship to form over time. The bond demonstrates occasional instances of interspecies affiliation in controlled settings. Extreme structures draw thrill seekers. Tall towers, bridges, or cliffs attract individuals pursuing adrenaline through climbing or jumping activities. The appeal stems from the combination of height, exposure, and perceived risk. Such sites become focal points for adventure recreation. Ancient Greek physicians employed water clocks to monitor fevers by timing pulse irregularities. They measured rhythmic inconsistencies rather than recording temperature values directly. The approach relied on duration observations for clinical interpretation. It represents an early method of physiological tracking. A famous geometric tiling pattern is named after a physicist. The pattern consists of aperiodic tiles that cover a plane completely without repeating periodically. It uses specific shapes and matching rules discovered through mathematical research. The physicists' work on quasicrystals inspired the naming of this non-repeating tessellation. The scent of old books arises partly from vanillin released during lignin breakdown. As paper ages, this slow chemical process liberates the compound associated with vanilla aroma. The fragrance accumulates over decades as degradation continues. It serves as a sensory marker of book preservation. Writing direction varies across languages. Scripts like Latin, Cyrillic, and Devanagari run from left to right, while Arabic, Hebrew, and Persian move from right to left, and traditional Chinese or Mongolian can go top to bottom. The direction developed based on ancient tools, writing surfaces, and cultural preferences. Right-handed dominance influenced many left-to-right systems to avoid smudging fresh ink. Tourism primarily focuses on iconic landmarks within destinations. Visitors prioritize sites recognized for their historical, architectural, or symbolic importance. Such concentration directs visitor flows and supporting services to these specific locations. The pattern shapes economic patterns in tourism-dependent regions. Ice cream is only called vanilla if it contains natural vanilla extract. Products labeled vanilla must derive flavor from real vanilla beans or extract according to regulations. Artificial flavorings require terms like vanilla-flavored or artificially flavored vanilla. A working transformer robot was built from a real car. Engineers modified an actual vehicle to fold and reconfigure into a humanoid form using hydraulics and mechanical linkages. The transformation process relies on motorized joints and segmented body parts. This demonstration combines automotive engineering with robotics for dynamic shapeshifting. Leonardo da Vinci devoted years to the Mona Lisa without declaring it complete. He continued refining details throughout his life. The unfinished perception stemmed from his pursuit of perfection. The work thus embodies ongoing artistic exploration. New nations continue emerging in contemporary times. Recent formations result from referendums, independence movements, or political changes. Each edition alters global boundaries and diplomacy. The process indicates ongoing evolution in statehood. An underwater museum operates near the Canary Islands. Sculptures placed on the seabed form an artificial reef accessible to divers and snorkelers. The installations encourage marine life growth while providing an artistic experience below the surface. This submerged collection combines environmental and cultural purposes in one location. Certain small creatures depend on bright coloration for survival instead of relying on large body size. Vivid hues function as aposematic signals, indicating toxicity or distastefulness to potential predators. The mechanism deters attacks without requiring physical strength or mass. It illustrates an effective alternative strategy in natural selection. Pigs are physically unable to look straight upward. Their short, thick necks and the positioning of their eyes on the sides of the head limit upward neck movement. The anatomy restricts the range of motion to prevent the pig from tilting its head back far enough to see directly overhead. Dugongs were aquatic mammals once found in China. Historical records indicate their presence in coastal waters along southern Chinese shores centuries ago. Overhunting and habitat changes led to local extinction in those regions. The species now survives in other parts of the Indo-Pacific. Some ancient harbors were aligned to prevailing winds rather than tides. Engineers oriented the harbor entrances and channels to match the most common wind directions in the area. This design made it easier for sailing ships to enter and exit without struggling against headwinds. Sail handling became more efficient and safer, even if it meant dealing with varying water depths at different times. Kangaroos can suspend embryo development and resume it later. This reproductive strategy allows females to delay birth until conditions improve. The pause occurs after fertilization, but before implantation. It optimizes survival for offspring in variable environments. Hong Kong registers a higher number of Rolls-Royce cars per capita than most cities worldwide. This concentration surpasses expectations for a densely populated urban area. The statistic arises from concentrated wealth among residents and business elites. It illustrates patterns of luxury consumption in financial hubs. Some paragliders fly alongside trained birds during flights. Experienced pilots synchronize their glides with large birds like eagles or vultures that ride thermal updrafts. The birds naturally seek rising air columns for efficient soaring, and paragliders follow these same currents. Close proximity allows observation of avian flight techniques in real time. The giant squid has eyes as large as sports balls. Its eyes can measure up to 27 centimeters in diameter, among the largest in the animal kingdom. The size enhances light collection in deep, dark ocean environments where vision is limited. The Statue of Liberty was presented to the United States as a gift from France. Contrary to assumptions of purely American origin, the monument originated as a French initiative to celebrate shared democratic values and friendship between the nations. Its construction involved French engineering and funding, with the U.S. providing the pedestal. This collaboration underscores the statue's role as a symbol of transatlantic solidarity. France became the first nation to prohibit supermarkets from discarding unsold edible food. The law requires donation of viable items to charities instead of disposal. This measure addresses food waste while supporting food insecure populations. It established a precedent for resource redistribution policies. A renowned artist created the logo for a widely recognized candy brand. The design incorporated distinctive visual elements that became iconic. The contribution originated from the artist's broader creative work. It shows crossover between fine art and commercial branding. The first traffic roundabouts developed from ornamental gardens that were later adapted to control the movement of horse-drawn carriages. These early circular features were not originally built for traffic, but repurposed when congestion increased in urban areas. The central garden area directed vehicles around it in an organized flow. This transition shows how existing landscape elements influence the practical design of modern road systems. Russia covers more land area than the dwarf planet Pluto. While Pluto spans a significant distance across, its total surface falls short of Russia's terrestrial expanse. This comparison corrects scale misconceptions about planetary versus national sizes. The fact illustrates how vast Earth features can exceed certain celestial bodies in area. The Atlas butterfly possesses one of the largest wingspans found among insects worldwide. Adult specimens can reach up to 30 centimeters across when fully extended. The broad wings aid in gliding flight through forested habitats. This size places the species among the biggest in its order, despite its relatively light body weight. Approximately 1/4 of songs available on Spotify have never been streamed. This portion remains unplayed despite platform accessibility. The figure reveals uneven distribution in listener engagement. It reflects challenges in music discovery and catalog depth. Some fish are considered the most expensive aquatic pets in the world. Rare and selectively bred varieties fetch extremely high prices in the aquarium trade. Factors such as unique color patterns, size, age, and limited supply drive their value. Collectors pay significant amounts for specimens with exceptional traits. Some carnivorous plants count how many times prey touches them. Specialized trigger hairs on the trap must receive multiple separate contacts within a short time window before closing. The plant registers these touches electrically to distinguish living prey from raindrops or wind-blown debris. This selective mechanism conserves energy by avoiding unnecessary trap closures. Cheese theft constitutes a notable share of retail food crime. Unlike assumptions that high-value items like electronics dominate losses, dairy products attract organized theft due to their resale value and demand. Retailers face recurring losses from targeted shoplifting operations. This pattern reflects broader challenges in securing everyday consumables. Some people believe the brain senses when it is being watched. The sensation arises from subtle peripheral cues or psychological expectation of observation. Heightened awareness triggers feelings of being stared at even without direct evidence. This perception often stems from evolutionary vigilance mechanisms. Miniature electronics continue shrinking beyond prior predictions. Ongoing advances reduce component sizes while maintaining or improving function. The trend supports compact devices and greater integration. Progress challenges assumptions about physical limits. In medieval Yemen, coffee beans were initially boiled with butter and spices into energy-rich pastes before the drink form became dominant. People ground roasted beans and mixed them with fats and flavorings to create portable, sustaining food. The mixture provided calories and stimulation for long journeys or work. Liquid brewing emerged later as the preferred preparation method. Official commemorative coins featuring Pokemon characters were released at one point. These legal tender pieces entered circulation in select countries to mark special editions or anniversaries of the franchise. Minting authorities produced them alongside regular currency. Their existence reflects the cultural impact of the brand extending into numismatics. The equator intersects 13 countries. This line crosses landmasses in Africa, South America, and Asia. Each nation experiences equatorial climate characteristics. The distribution affects geography, biodiversity, and human settlement patterns. Fire extinguishing balls activate automatically upon contact with flames. The devices contain suppressing agents that release when exposed to heat. This self-triggering mechanism allows deployment in inaccessible areas. Such technology provides passive fire protection in various settings. Holes appear in pen caps specifically to reduce suffocation risk if accidentally swallowed. The openings permit continued airflow through the airway. The feature targets hazards particularly relevant to young children. It constitutes a deliberate safety measure in product design. Some countries restrict the sale of certain beverages. National laws prohibit or limit distribution of drinks based on alcohol content, caffeine levels, or cultural factors. Regulations often target public health concerns or traditional values. Enforcement varies through age limits, licensing, or outright bans in specific areas. Earth's magnetic field is not uniform across the planet. The field strength varies significantly between locations, being weaker near the equator and stronger toward the poles. Internal movements in the liquid outer core generate these irregularities through dynamo processes. The field also tilts and drifts slowly over time due to core fluid dynamics. Rabbits can see behind themselves without moving. Their eyes are positioned on the sides of the head, providing a wide field of monocular vision. This arrangement covers nearly 360 degrees with only a small blind spot directly in front. The panoramic view helps detect predators from multiple directions. Cassowaries are considered among the most dangerous birds. Their powerful legs end in sharp, dagger-like claws capable of inflicting severe wounds. Combined with aggressive territorial behavior, these features make close encounters highly risky. Xiaomi entered the electric car industry after developing its first model in a short time. The company leveraged its existing expertise in fast product cycles from smartphones and electronics. Teams completed design, prototyping, and initial production rapidly by applying familiar supply chain and manufacturing methods. This speed allowed Xiaomi to launch its SU7 electric vehicle model within a few years of announcement. Robots perform food delivery tasks in select cities. Autonomous units navigate streets to transport orders directly to customers. Implementation occurs in areas with supportive infrastructure. The development demonstrates practical automation in urban services. Cats display attachment behaviors resembling those of human infants. Studies observe secure and insecure patterns in response to caregivers. The similarities appear in proximity seeking and exploration. This convergence suggests shared mammalian bonding mechanisms. All airplanes use navigation lights to indicate direction and position. Standard placement includes a red light on the left wingtip, a green light on the right wingtip, and white lights on the tail, and sometimes fuselage. These colors follow international aviation rules to help pilots and ground observers quickly identify an aircraft's heading and orientation. The system remains essential during night flights or in poor visibility conditions. India now ranks as the most populous country on Earth. Its total population overtook previous leaders through sustained demographic trends. The transition reflects differences in birth rates and life expectancy patterns. This position carries implications for global resource allocation and development priorities. A coin toss exhibits a slight bias toward the side facing upward at the start. The preference occurs because of minor asymmetries in how the coin spins and lands. This effect remains small and often negligible in practice. The finding adjusts assumptions of perfect randomness in casual use. Papua New Guinea contains more distinct languages than any other country. This linguistic diversity arises from isolated communities across rugged terrain. The multitude reflects centuries of separate cultural development. Such variety underscores challenges in national communication and preservation. Design obsession followed some famous innovators to the end. Certain inventors continued refining products or ideas throughout their lives with intense focus on detail. Persistent iteration occurred even in later years or on personal projects. This dedication shaped their lasting contributions across multiple fields. Certain soils undergo an irreversible color change when heated, which allows archaeologists to locate ancient hearths even when no artifacts remain. The transformation occurs due to chemical alterations in iron compounds present in the soil. Once exposed to fire temperatures, the color shift persists permanently. This reliable marker helps identify long-vanished cooking or heating sites from prehistoric periods. The heliopause defines the boundary of the solar system. It forms where solar wind pressure equals interstellar medium pressure, marking the transition to galactic space. Voyager probes have crossed this region, confirming its existence. The boundary represents the practical limit of the sun's direct influence. Some islands remain untouched due to isolation. Extreme distance from continents or shipping routes makes regular human access difficult and costly. Harsh weather, lack of natural harbors, or protected status further limit visits. This remoteness preserves pristine ecosystems, native species, and geological features without significant human impact. A viral online challenge generated substantial funding for medical research. Participants engaged in a widespread activity that prompted donations to related causes. The phenomenon converted social media momentum into tangible support. It shows how digital trends can drive real-world philanthropy. Falling directly through Earth would produce oscillating motion instead of halting at the core. Gravity pulls toward the center initially, then overshoots due to momentum. The path repeats as a harmonic oscillation through the planet. Friction and density variations would eventually dampen the motion. Color illusions can make identical shades look different. The same color patch appears altered when placed against contrasting backgrounds or surrounded by specific patterns. Surrounding hues trick the visual system into adjusting perceived brightness and tone. This effect arises from how the brain processes relative contrasts rather than absolute values. A single tree yields enough wood for thousands of pencils. The material from one mature trunk supplies the slender cores after processing into thin slats. This output reflects efficient use of timber resources in manufacturing. The figure illustrates the scale of everyday products derived from forestry. Certain studies indicate that intelligent individuals may exhibit elevated copper levels in their hair. This correlation appears in analyses comparing cognitive performance with trace element concentrations. The association does not establish causation, but suggests a possible biological link. Hair analysis provides a non-invasive method for detecting such patterns. Space travel influences gene expression in astronauts. Exposure to microgravity and radiation prompts changes in how genes are activated or suppressed. These alterations affect various biological processes without permanently rewriting DNA sequences. Such shifts help explain physiological adaptations and health risks during missions. Psychopathy occurs in a small portion of the population. Estimates place the prevalence at around 1% in general communities. The trait involves reduced empathy, impulsivity, and manipulative tendencies identified through psychological assessments. It appears consistently across cultures at low rates. The beluga sturgeon is one of the largest freshwater fish. It inhabits large river systems and can reach lengths over 7 meters, and weights exceeding 1 ton in exceptional cases. Long lifespans and abundant food sources in their habitats support this massive growth. The species is known for producing high-value caviar. Hippopotamus sweat appears pink and serves as a natural protective layer for their skin. The reddish secretion contains compounds that act as sunscreen and antibiotics against bacteria in water. Glands produce this substance, especially when the animal is exposed to sun or stress. The coloration provides both physical defense and a visible sign of the hippo's unique physiology. Russia occupies a substantial share of Earth's total land surface. This vast territory spans 2 continents and multiple time zones, exceeding many other nations combined. The sheer scale influences its geopolitical presence and resource distribution. Such extent shapes both domestic infrastructure challenges and international relations. Ice landscapes produce sharp visual contrasts against adjacent terrain. Bright, reflective surfaces differ markedly from darker rock, soil, or vegetation in appearance. The distinction results from variations in albedo and material properties. Such differences emphasize environmental extremes in glaciated areas. Certain glaciers accelerate valley carving through pressurized meltwater jets. These high-velocity streams erode bedrock more effectively than ice friction alone. The process enhances downcutting during glacial advance. It contributes to rapid landscape sculpting in alpine regions. Certain desert fungi grow only on the shaded sides of rocks. They position colonies on north-facing or otherwise sheltered rock surfaces to escape direct sunlight. The stone provides shade and moderates temperature swings by absorbing heat slowly during the day and releasing it at night. This microhabitat keeps the fungi within tolerable temperature ranges in extreme arid environments. Individuals who build their own wealth tend to report higher levels of life satisfaction compared to those who inherit it. Self-earned financial success often connects to personal effort, goal achievement, and autonomy. This correlation emerges from studies examining sources of wealth and subjective well-being. The pattern suggests earned accomplishment contributes positively to overall contentment. Infrastructure occasionally incorporates features intended specifically for emergency situations. Designs may include reinforced access points, backup systems, or evacuation routes planned for crises like natural disasters or attacks. These elements remain integrated but unused during normal operations. The approach prioritizes preparedness without disrupting everyday function. Prehistoric animal forms served as inspiration for designs in contemporary films. Creators reference paleontological evidence to shape creature appearances and movements. Features derive from reconstructed skeletal and anatomical details. This connection bridges scientific reconstruction with cinematic representation. The longest straight walk on Earth spans thousands of kilometers. A continuous path across flat terrain in one direction covers vast distances without major obstacles like oceans or mountains. The route follows a great circle segment on relatively featureless land. This distance results from specific geographical alignments in remote regions. An Aztec prophecy influenced the design of the symbol on Mexico's national flag. The image of an eagle perched on a cactus, devouring a snake, fulfills an ancient prediction that guided the Mexica people to their capital site. This emblem reflects the prophecy's role in shaping both settlement and national identity. The flag thus preserves a direct link to pre-colonial foundational beliefs. Red pandas wrap their tails around themselves for warmth. During cold weather or rest, they curl their long, thick ringed tail over their body and head like a blanket. The dense fur traps body heat and reduces heat loss from exposed areas. This behavior helps them conserve energy in their cool mountain forest habitats. A prominent video rental company once declined to purchase a developing streaming service. The decision passed on an opportunity that later transformed media consumption. The oversight occurred during early negotiations. It illustrates risks in underestimating emerging technologies. The first intercollegiate football game took place between two Northeastern universities. Rutgers University and the College of New Jersey participated in this initial contest. The event introduced organized competition under early rules. It initiated traditions that evolved into modern American college football. Humans lose hair daily as part of a natural cycle. Each hair follicle independently cycles through growth, anagen, transition, catagen, and resting/shedding, telogen phases. On average, 50 to 100 hairs enter the shedding phase each day across the scalp. New hairs grow in to replace those lost, maintaining overall hair density. China has engineered robots equipped to refuel vehicles without human assistance. The systems manage fuel dispensing and nozzle connection autonomously. Development targets increased operational efficiency at service stations. The innovation advances automation in everyday vehicular maintenance. Record holders frequently defy conventional expectations. Achievements in various fields often involve unconventional methods or persistence beyond typical limits. These accomplishments highlight exceptional human capabilities. They expand perceptions of what remains possible. Airplane turbulence results from unstable air currents in the atmosphere. It is not caused by the aircraft itself, but by variations in wind speed, direction, or temperature that disrupt smooth airflow. Pilots cannot always avoid these regions because clear air turbulence often lacks visible cues. Aircraft are engineered to withstand such forces without structural failure. Ancient Maya lime production required burning limestone at controlled temperatures, implying sophisticated fuel management in dense forests. Limestone was heated in kilns to around 900 degrees Celsius, using carefully selected wood fuels. Precise temperature control and fuel supply ensured consistent quicklime output for construction and plaster. The Space 220 restaurant simulates a journey into space for diners. The interior features curved walls, star projections, dim blue lighting, and seating arranged like a spacecraft cabin. Sound effects, video screens, and timed service sequences create the illusion of launch and orbital travel. Guests experience a themed meal designed to feel like dining in outer space. Some grasshoppers possess remarkably long antennae. These extended sensory organs exceed body length in certain species. The feature enhances detection of environmental cues and potential mates. It represents an adaptation for survival in complex habitats. Two neighboring countries have never concluded a formal peace treaty following a major war. Their conflict ended through a ceasefire agreement rather than negotiated resolution. The lack of treaty sustains an official state of hostility. This ongoing situation affects diplomatic relations and regional stability. February occasionally passes without a full moon. Its shorter duration, particularly in common years, can exclude the completion of a lunar cycle. The omission depends on the alignment of calendar dates with lunar phases. This possibility distinguishes it from all other months in the Gregorian calendar. Psychological suppression of emotions tends to impair mental health. Habitual restraint prevents processing and leads to increased stress or disorders. Unexpressed feelings accumulate internal pressure over time. This pattern highlights the value of emotional expression. The Qibla walls of early mosques in China sometimes face south instead of southwest, revealing how Islamic ritual adapted to inherited Chinese cosmological orientation systems. Traditional Chinese architecture prioritized cardinal directions based on feng shui and cosmic harmony. Mosque builders aligned prayer walls to south-facing conventions while maintaining religious intent. Johnny Depp engages in collecting Barbie dolls as a personal hobby. He acquires various models and editions for his collection. The pursuit exists independently of his acting career. It constitutes one of several private leisure interests. Early submarine designs included piano wire depth gauges, translating pressure into audible pitch changes. A wire connected to a pressure-sensitive diaphragm vibrated at different frequencies as depth increased. Crew members listened to the changing tone to estimate submersion level without visual instruments. Greece possesses the world's longest national anthem by duration. The composition includes numerous verses performed in full on official occasions. Its length exceeds most other anthems substantially. The extended form reflects historical and cultural emphasis. During production, a famous animated film was considered a secondary project. Studio resources were initially allocated to other main features, leaving this one with limited budget and attention. It developed quietly alongside higher priority works. The film's eventual success came from strong storytelling and animation quality despite the modest beginnings. Archaeologists uncovered fossilized breadcrumbs in Jordan exceeding 14,000 years in age. The preserved remains indicate early bread preparation techniques. The discovery predates widespread agriculture in the area. It provides evidence of advanced food processing in prehistoric societies. Early electrical safety standards developed after telegraph operators experienced burns from live wires. These incidents occurred well before widespread household electricity, revealing risks in even low-voltage systems. Insulation requirements emerged to prevent direct contact with conductors. The resulting protocols laid groundwork for later standards that protected users during electrification. Underwater lakes emerge from differences in water density. Layers of denser saline or mineral-rich water settle below less dense freshwater, creating a distinct boundary. The separation mimics a lake surface within the larger body. This phenomenon occurs in specific oceanic or cavern environments. A replica of Paris exists in China. The constructed district mimics iconic French architecture and layout. Developers created the area as a residential and commercial project. It demonstrates global replication of cultural landmarks. Black rhinoceroses primarily browse vegetation rather than graze. They use their pointed, prehensile upper lip to pluck leaves, twigs, thorns, and small branches from bushes and trees. This selective feeding style allows them to target higher nutrient foliage unavailable to grazing animals. Their diet focuses on woody plants rather than grasses found on open plains. Stars are seen as they were in the past due to light travel time. Light from distant stars takes years, centuries, or millennia to reach Earth. The image observed today reflects the star's state at the moment the light began its journey. Landforms contribute to shaping regional identity. Distinct geographical features like mountains or rivers foster unique cultural attachments among inhabitants. These elements influence local traditions, dialects, and sense of place. The connection demonstrates how physical environment reinforces social cohesion. Dog breeds can evolve for extreme physical traits. Selective breeding over generations has produced dogs with unusually long legs, flattened faces, massive size, or minimal fur. Human-directed choices amplify genetic variations to achieve desired appearances and functions. Creative works were once sold cheaply before gaining massive value. Many paintings, manuscripts, or early editions changed hands for modest sums during the creator's lifetime. Rising fame, scarcity after death, or cultural recognition later drove prices upward through auctions and collector demand. This pattern shows how market perception evolves over time. Some animals can heal wounds that would be fatal to others. Certain species possess advanced regeneration abilities or strong antimicrobial defenses in their skin and blood. These mechanisms allow rapid tissue repair and infection resistance even from deep or contaminated injuries. The process involves specialized cells and proteins not found in most vertebrates. The very first video uploaded to YouTube carried the title, "Me at the Zoo." It showed the co-founder visiting the San Diego Zoo and speaking directly to the camera about the elephants. The simple personal recording marked the platform's public launch in 2005. The choice of an everyday moment set the tone for user-generated content on the site. A popular energy drink company paid damages for misleading advertising. The brand settled legal claims after accusations of exaggerated health or performance benefits in marketing. Court rulings required compensation for deceptive statements about product effects. Crocodiles share a closer evolutionary relationship with birds than with lizards. Both crocodiles and birds belong to the archosaur group, while lizards fall under a separate reptilian lineage. This connection traces back to shared ancestors after the divergence from other reptiles. The classification clarifies modern reptile phylogeny. Pigeons carry more weight and feathers than in their skeletons. Lightweight bones reduce overall mass for flight, while plumage adds substantial coverage for insulation and aerodynamics. This distribution prioritizes wing functionality over skeletal density. The contrast reveals adaptations for avian mobility. The famous Monaco Grand Prix racing event has experienced additions with remarkably few cars finishing the race. Mechanical failures, crashes, and narrow circuit conditions often eliminate many competitors before the end. Survival through the full distance becomes a significant achievement under these circumstances. Such low completion rates highlight the event's demanding nature. The narrowest house in the world stands in Poland. This residential structure measures less than 1 meter wide in parts, yet contains multiple functional levels. Architects designed it to fit an unusually tight urban plot between existing buildings. The extreme dimensions make it a notable example of adaptive construction in constrained spaces. A medieval Arabic cookbook included instructions for clarifying sugar syrups by using egg whites, demonstrating an early application of protein coagulation to purify liquids. The egg whites bind to impurities and rise to the surface when heated, allowing removal of debris. This technique produced clearer syrup for culinary use. It represents advanced food processing knowledge from that historical period. A rare mole species was documented through photography in Australia. The elusive animal evaded observation until recent imaging captured its appearance. The record provides visual confirmation of its existence in the wild. Such documentation aids conservation understanding. Space missions frequently assign informal nicknames to equipment. Crews apply casual labels to tools, instruments, or modules for easier communication. These names often arise from humor or resemblance. The practice fosters team familiarity in high-stakes environments. Manhattan Island originally consisted of dense forests, flowing streams, and populations of wild animals before European settlement. The landscape supported diverse wildlife and natural waterways across what is now urban terrain. Early accounts describe thick woods and meadows in the area. This natural state contrasts sharply with the developed islands seen today. Raccoons appear to wash their food due to inherited hunting behaviors. In the wild, they often manipulate prey in water to remove debris or subdue it. Captive raccoons retain this dousing motion, even with dry food, as an instinctive response. A hybrid cat breed is one of the largest domestic pets. Through selective breeding, this breed has developed much greater body size, length, and weight than average house cats. Genetic contributions from larger ancestral lines contribute to the increased dimensions. Owners often compare their size to small dogs in terms of physical presence. Bright green metallic bees inhabit certain regions of Central America. These insects display vivid coloration that stands out against foliage in tropical environments. The hue results from structural features in their exoskeleton rather than pigments. Such striking appearance occurs in species adapted to specific local ecosystems. Ancient empires once governed enormous territories. Vast land areas came under centralized control through military expansion and administration. These domains often exceeded modern national boundaries in scope. Their extent influenced trade, culture, and governance patterns across continents. A substantial part of a baby's cognitive development stems from genetic factors inherited from the mother. Maternal genes play a key role in brain formation and early neural processes during prenatal and postnatal stages. This influence operates through inherited DNA rather than solely environmental inputs. The contribution shapes foundational aspects of intellectual growth. A man with hearing impairment was observed using sign language during sleep. This behavior shows that sign language can function as a fully internalized communication system, not dependent on conscious effort or external prompts. The signing occurs because the brain processes the language through the same motor and linguistic pathways active during wakefulness. Such observations highlight how deeply ingrained signed languages become in proficient users. Sunflowers can absorb radiation and help detoxify soil. Their roots take up heavy metals and radioactive elements from contaminated ground during growth. The plants concentrate these substances in stems and leaves for later removal. This phytoremediation property aids cleanup after industrial or nuclear incidents. The Andromeda Galaxy remains visible to the naked eye from Earth. Positioned near the Milky Way, it lies close enough for detection without telescopes under dark skies. Its proximity distinguishes it from most other galaxies. This accessibility makes it one of the few extragalactic objects observable directly. Bees that consume fermented nectar sometimes become intoxicated and face rejection from their own hive. The alcohol content disrupts their normal behavior, making them appear disoriented or aggressive to other colony members. Guard bees detect these changes and prevent the intoxicated individuals from re-entering. This response protects the hive from potential disruption caused by impaired members. Ancient wells demonstrate precision engineering. Deep shafts were dug vertically with consistent diameter and straight alignment over great depths. Stone lining or brick reinforcement prevented collapse while maintaining water flow. The accuracy reflects advanced surveying and construction knowledge from that era. Only a few countries in the world do not have airports. Most nations operate at least one runway and terminal facility to accommodate domestic or international flights. The exceptions typically include very small island states, landlocked micronations, or territories reliant on nearby countries' airports. These places use sea or land transport as primary means. Looking into space involves observing light from the past. Distant objects appear as they existed long ago because their emitted light takes years, centuries, or millennia to reach Earth. The greater the distance, the further back in time the view extends. This principle forms the basis of astronomical time observation. Large predators exert dominant influence over their ecosystems. Their presence regulates prey populations and maintains balance through trophic cascades. Removal or addition alters community dynamics significantly. This role underscores their importance in biodiversity stability. Finland consistently appears among the top countries in global happiness rankings year after year. Surveys measure factors such as social support, income equality, health, and trust in institutions to determine these positions. The country's systems and cultural values contribute to high reported well-being. Repeated high placement indicates stable conditions supporting life satisfaction. Vehicle design incorporates subtle cues to guide driver awareness. Features such as dashboard symmetry, hood contours, or tactile feedback assist spatial orientation. These elements operate below conscious notice during routine operation. The inclusion enhances intuitive handling and operational safety. The word education includes all 5 vowels appearing in alphabetical order, whereas sequoia represents the shortest English word achieving the same sequence. Neither term was constructed intentionally for this property. The arrangement occurs naturally within standard spelling conventions. These examples reveal incidental patterns in English vocabulary structure. New banknotes tend to reduce spending compared to worn ones. People perceive crisp currency as more valuable and are reluctant to part with it quickly. This psychological effect arises from loss aversion applied to newer bills. The difference in spending behavior demonstrates how physical condition influences perceived worth. Cows possess a single stomach organized into several compartments. The multi-chambered rumen system enables efficient digestion of fibrous plant material through microbial fermentation. Each section performs a specialized role in breaking down and absorbing nutrients. This adaptation supports their herbivorous diet. Traditional homes adapt to nature. Designs incorporate local materials, climate considerations, and terrain features to maintain comfort and durability. Structures often use natural ventilation, insulation from earth or plants, and orientation to sun or wind patterns. Handcrafted structures sometimes achieve monumental proportions. Skilled artisans construct large-scale works using traditional techniques without modern machinery. Such efforts require extensive time, labor, and precision. These creations preserve cultural heritage through tangible scale. Cosmic boundaries delineate the outer edge of the solar system. The heliopause separates solar wind influence from interstellar space. Crossing this frontier marks transition to galactic surroundings. Probes have provided direct measurements of the boundary region. India maintains one of the highest proportions of vegetarians among nations worldwide. This figure surpasses most countries due to deeply rooted cultural and religious practices. Adherence often stems from principles of nonviolence and ethical considerations toward living beings. The prevalence highlights the influence of long-standing societal norms on dietary choices. Extreme viewpoints suspended over cliffs attract thrill seekers worldwide. These structures, often made of glass or metal, project far beyond the cliff edge to create a sense of floating in air. The extreme height and transparent flooring intensify feelings of exposure and vulnerability. Visitors travel long distances specifically to experience the adrenaline rush from standing above deep drops. The Barbie doll carries a complete fictional name along with an assigned official birth date. She is designated as Barbara Millicent Roberts, with March 9th, 1959, established as her date. These elements form part of the character's defined identity. They support her function within branded narratives. The Congo River has sections so deep that sunlight cannot reach the bottom. In certain channels, depths exceed 200 meters, far below the photic zone where light penetrates. Sunlight absorption by water particles prevents any illumination from reaching these abyssal depths. Weddings sometimes occur in extreme geographical or environmental settings. Couples choose remote mountaintops, ocean depths, or other challenging sites for ceremonies. Selection emphasizes personal significance over conventional accessibility. Such locations expand the range of accepted matrimonial venues. Early aluminum cookware was marketed as hygienic because its oxide layer resists bacterial adhesion. When exposed to oxygen, aluminum quickly forms a thin, stable aluminum oxide coating on its surface. This passive layer prevents most bacteria from attaching strongly, reducing contamination risks compared to other metals. Later, scientific studies using surface analysis techniques confirmed the antibacterial properties of this natural film. The Lonomia caterpillar is one of the most venomous caterpillars in the world, despite its harmless appearance. Contact with its spines releases potent toxins that can cause severe bleeding, organ damage, or death in humans. The caterpillar's cryptic coloration and slow movement belie its dangerous sting. Mount Kilimanjaro is the tallest mountain in Africa. It rises to over 5,800 meters above sea level as a freestanding volcanic peak. Glaciers cap its summit despite proximity to the equator. The height results from tectonic activity and volcanic buildup over millions of years. There you have it. Now it's your turn to scroll down and vote for the fact of the week. Whichever fact gets the most likes will earn a shout out in the next video. Got an even stranger fact that didn't make the list? Drop it in the comments. Thanks for watching, legends. Stay curious, keep questioning everything, and I'll see you in the next one.